Anyway, back to what I was saying. You guys remember the Magic the Gathering diatribe I was about to go on. I've been playing this format called Commander for ages, right?
The name of this story, for any theoretical viewers who are not there, is called The Deck That Church Built.
Oh, I'll say that again. That's fine. Way back in the day when Commander was known as EDH, which stands for Elder Dragon Highlander. Elder Dragon because that's who your commander was, and Highlander because you can only have one of any particular card other than basic lands in your deck. So this was a format played amongst judges, and some friends of mine and I got involved in it. And the first deck that I ever built in this format was Rith the Awakener, a green, white, and red deck based around a 6/6 dragon that costs 3, 1 red, 1 white, and 1 green, and says that it is a 6/6 flying elder dragon, and when it deals combat damage to a player, you may pay 2 and 1 green mana. If you do, choose a color. For however many permanents of that color are currently on the battlefield, you create a 1/1 green sapperling. So say you're playing 2 people that are playing green decks, and you have 6 total permanents on your side, they have 3, and the other opponent has 2. You get to create 11 1/1 sapperlings if they're all green. Okay? Mm-hmm. Every time you make contact and pay 3 mana. I have built this deck to such perfection that by turn 7, I'm usually sitting on a token doubler enchantment, 70 creatures on the board, and just blissfully whipping the living shit out of 2 or more players with my happy flying dragon before anybody else can really get a board presence set up. This makes me so happy as a Magic the Gathering player.
I mean, it's the teeny weeny deck, which is a classic.
No. See, this is no. It's fronted by a 6/6 mother of all fuck you dragons.
Well, see, this is one of those few scenarios where I can actually outline the kind of decks that I build in my incredibly holistic, weird little way that is not official in any capacity because fuck playing at conventions.
Yeah.
I have a deck. It's a black-green deck called Salad. Okay.
Sounds about like right up my alley.
And it's a sapperling deck.
Right.
And the linchpin of it is not a big creature. It is 2 copies of an artifact I've got called Caltrops. Each instance of this artifact, when you attack people, you take 1 damage. Cool. And what I do is I build a wall of sapperlings. Just an infinitely huge wall of sapperlings behind some caltrops. Sure, you could totally destroy the caltrops, but then you have to destroy all these sapperlings. And, I can give them strikes so that they can get guys in the air, and they can, they don't have a lot of hit points, they die a lot. So what's the finisher? How do I take down people for sapperlings? It's called, it's a spell you've heard of, called Blight.
Oh, yeah.
And meta-magical effects that mean that when I kill my sapperlings with my Blight, you die.
Yeah, see, I usually just wait until I can play something called Divine Visitation. And Divine Visitation says anytime you create a token. So anytime you would create a sapperling from your Thallid deck, if you had Divine Visitation in play, instead of creating a 1/1 sapperling, you create a 4/4 flying Vigilance Angel.
That's pretty sweet.
So I'm actually building a deck. I got some really, really nice. They were expensive.
Some 2x4s and some
some high.
Wait a minute.
I'm using. I'm gonna.
You're gonna grill like a motherfucker on this deck. You're gonna take this. You're gonna take this deck to Worlds.
I just had
our galvanized nails. I'm gonna do like a nice dark walnut stain.
I was gonna say, what kind of stain you using?
You gotta pressure wash the shit out of this deck.
I just had a horrifying realization.
Yeah.
Shirtless and a pair of shorts.
no, that's pretty horrifying. on a show called The Gospel of Comics, where we discuss comics. Yes. We are so disgustipated by the things going on in comics right now. We are talking about anything other than comics.
Well,
we're going to get to that.
On in comics right now, though.
We haven't done the proper intro yet.
We haven't.
Oh, okay.
This is still the cold intro.
See. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm just lamenting on the fact that, you know, after lockdown has subsided and I'm able to see real people again on the weekends, and you know, sit down and play a child's card game at a card shop, that I'm dominating with a 60-cent dragon against $1,000 decks.
Well, that's because dumb fucks follow the block. They're like, oh, I gotta buy the new block. I gotta get all the new cards. I gotta buy dominance. It's like, right, the block that is designed specifically to beat the previous block. Right? It's like, well, what do you play, Joe? It's like, I play a combination of a bunch of different cards from a bunch of different sets from all kinds of walks of life.
No, that's not how Commander works. let me.
No, I know how Commander works. What I'm saying is that when you're playing against the little kids, even if they're playing Commander decks, their thought process.
Well, they're typically playing
how their game
newest,
economy goes. Yeah,
they're typically playing the new pre-con Commander deck off the rack.
Right.
Where I've got a $1,200 Rift deck sitting over here.
Right. They never ask the question. They never ask the question: are the new cards or is the new meta good for what I want to do with it?
Well, it's funny. It's funny you bring that up because the new cards and the new meta are. One of the new Commander decks out of the newest set, Innistrad Hunt,
right?
Or Hunt,
because we're going to Innistrad for the third time.
Hey, Innistrad's a fantastic place if you like vampires and zombies.
It is, but for God's sake, you know, Dominaria exists, people.
We went to Dominaria. We stayed in Dominaria for like 12 years, and then we went back to it in the last 5.
I'm just saying, man. It seems kind of cash grabby.
Pre-mending was all Dominaria. 12 years of Dominaria. And then we had Dominaria again, and then technically every Modern Horizon set is also in Dominaria.
And now we have D&D.
Well, yeah, Forgotten Realms, but that's Baldur's Gate. Mm-hmm. That's Baldur's Gate magic.
So, Larry, how was your week?
let me get to my point. Let me get to my point, and then we'll do the proper intro, and everybody can get to it.
Right.
But getting to my point, the new set, one of the 2 Commander decks that they put out was zombie based. So with a minimum 15 cards.
Sir, excuse me, you mean Black Elves?
No. Well, yes, yes. But with 15 cards and switching out the commander, so for a total of 16 changed cards in the new blue-black zombie deck, I have created an unstoppable Grim deck. So basically, the third turn he's out, I have an 11/11 zombie horror that every time it untaps, it gets a 1/1 counter, and every time it taps, it destroys a creature and gets a 1/1 counter.
In all seriousness, Church, and I mean this absolutely, and I fully suspect that Ayrton and Larry are not on board, and that's fine. They can be no fun. I know that you have a
that's rich coming from you.
I know. I know you have a limited queue for investing in GAMs.
Yes.
And wasting money on Steam.
Right.
But if at some future point, whether through gift or through your own investment, you pick up Tabletop Simulator.
You know I have Tabletop Simulator, and I actually bought Tabletop Simulator for Allison.
Oh, right. No, you got Tabletop Simulator because we're going to play DC Deck Builder at some point.
Correct.
Eventually. Right. Well, at some point, we should also get a huge collection of...
Magic?
I was going to say copyright, distinct, two-dimensional electronic devices.
If we're going to do that, we'll just play Cockatrice. Because Cockatrice is Tabletop Simulator strictly for Magic the Gathering.
Yeah, I gotta dig back into that. But
it's just an easier medium than Tabletop Simulator because it has commands built in.
Wait,
but we can
cockatrice, like the medieval dish where you serve half of a chicken to half of a
pig? That's the name of the app.
No, cockatrice, like the monster that is hatched from the egg of a chicken, coiled around by a snake, squatted on by a toad.
To both of you, yes.
There is a sixth dimension beyond that which is known to man. A multiverse as vast as eternity, as timeless as the infinity gems. It is the middle ground between the big two and the indie publishers, between sci-fi and mysticism, and it lies between the pages of the reader's imagination. At the summit of entertainment, the dimension of comics, where a humble service is held. We call this service the Gospel of Comics.
Comics. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Gospel of Comics. I am your host, the Church of Failure, and with me, as always, are my trusty co-host, Ayrton McCartney, RuneKnight, and Larry Bernard. How are you boys doing this week?
Fantastic.
The curse of Sigourney Weaver is upon us.
Vic Moranis will handle it, Rune.
I'm fucking tired, but let's do this shit.
Hey, you did this to you by not being here last week.
Dude,
I did. I've been going nonstop since last Thursday.
That sounds like a personal problem.
Yeah. That's
maybe you should tell your boyfriend to give you a day off.
You know. You hey, being a sugar baby is not easy.
Lord, make Ayrton's pimp hand strong and guide it true.
I mean, based on what he just said, he doesn't have a pimp hand. A pimp hand has him.
I mean, why work for it?
Yeah.
Regardless,
if you're good at something, don't do it for free.
Yeah, but where do you want to start, Church? We got so many things, many dumbs.
I mean, the main place I wanted to start was I think we should start with a little back and forth. Well, first, actually, I think what we should do is the week delayed. Ayrton, do you want to talk about the Galactic Rodents of Mayhem?
No.
But we're gonna, right?
Sure.
So wait, you're saying that basically a ripoff of Biker Mics from Mars was disappointing?
Yeah.
So
and you didn't see that coming from outer space?
Something that Ayrton and I were like jumping for joy and hoping that would be amazing, and got really hyped with the creator of on stream before the creator got too good to talk to us anymore. That happened, believe it or not, because when this guy was trying to make sales and knew that we were backers number 1 and number 7 of his project, because we were that excited about the project. We had promoted it twice before it launched and then once as it launched. To end up with what we ended up with, it just feels bad, man.
I'm not kicking this to the curb, but this will actually lead in pretty nicely to the next subject. Which we can get to in a minute.
Yeah, how comics are inaccessible.
The Chuck Dixon thing, actually.
No,
did you read that article?
No.
Oh wow.
I just got done saying I've been playing Magic literally all day.
Right. Basically.
Rune, before you get into that.
Yeah.
So.
Let's finish the Galactic Rodents of Mayhem.
Yeah, please.
Yeah. So, like, your first impressions and, like, your kind of overall thoughts on it, Church.
Okay, my first impressions, when I looked at the book, I didn't even give a shit what was on the inside of it because it wasn't the book that I bought. Now, for anyone that doesn't make sense to, on the Indiegogo page, sometimes creators do this graphic mock-up of their book. And Ayrton, you remember seeing it. It was
vaguely.
It was a thick boy. of a book.
Yeah.
And it was proportioned like an average trade paperback. What did we get, Ayrton? I forget.
We got a Euro-sized.
We got a Euro-sized, like, tri-issue book. 3-4 issue book. So
basically?
Huh?
So it was a double-sized book, basically?
No, it was... I mean, it was 3 or 4 issues worth of book. But it was the size of a goddamn magazine. It felt awkward when I was trying to read it. It felt weird in my fucking hands.
It's because you were associating it with pornography.
That might be the case. And
Well,
it was all like furry creatures, and that made me uncomfortable on top of it.
Yeah, there it is. There it is.
Okay.
I was like,
so I've solved the mystery for you.
No. So anybody who's listened to me in church for a while knows that even though we like to bash on furries, Rune excluded, we enjoy.
We like to bash on Rune too.
No.
Well, yeah.
No. Look. I need to make this 100% clear. I want it to go out into the universe. As someone who enjoys anthropomorphic content, fuck furries. They ruin everything. They're the worst people on earth. Please give them the yellow star. You know what to do. They're stupid.
I disavow. As the channel owner, I disavow yellow star content.
For whatever reason. Okay. Two things. One. How dare you, sir? What if they identify as a golden star? How can you take away their Mario cosplay? 2.
Fuck your shiny Patrick bullshit.
But no, two. The other thing is, no. They bring it on themselves by virtue of the fact that there are too many ridiculous furries.
Wait, are you saying that because they're dressed like that, they're asking for it?
No, what I'm saying is that there are furry F-slurs out there, because that's the colloquial that I can't say on air, that for whatever reason do not realize, don't talk to Vice magazine. They don't have your best interests at heart. Maybe, just maybe, keep your fetishes in your hotel room at the convention. The number of furries that have ruined the fun for everyone else who's even halfway normal and understands how to keep their shit together is profound. So no, they don't get any protections. I mean, burn them all.
They probably also shouldn't touch kids or animals.
Yeah, probably those things.
Galactic Rodents of Mayhem, beautifully drawn book.
I do want to disagree. I want to disagree with you on one point about the size. I will agree.
You're a robot. Give me a 1, 2, 3. Hold on. You're a robot. Give me a 1, 2, 3.
Test it.
Ayrton wants to disagree with you on a subject about the size.
No.
This is because of his expertise as a pornographer.
Yes. All right, go ahead, Ayrton.
All right, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So I was more disappointed that we didn't get the amount of story I was expecting, but the actual size of the book didn't bother me. It was weird, but as I said in our private chat, Mary's Boys came in that, and that weird Peruvian comic I found humorous.
Let me
was also printed.
Let me counterpoint that real quick. Mary Boys was a 2-issue thing, and the Peruvian book was 1 issue. They were all single issues. They were all designed to be bagged and boarded and stored in a magazine box. This is a trade-sized magazine format book, which means it has a square binding, which is meant to be displayed on a shelf. I would have to adjust any bookshelf in my house to fit that size book, with the exception of the one that size book and the Doug TeNapel books that I own are currently filling up.
Okay, so cheap jokes aside. Okay,
that's not a joke. That's a literal complaint.
No.
Like, it's a trade-sized book.
I'm not going to make a joke.
Okay.
I'm saying I'm not going to make any jokes here for a minute. Yeah. Serious talk. Are we certain that the offensiveness is not just the change in size, but the all-important lack of transparency to backers.
Yes.
Something that I have run into, okay?
To answer your question, are we? Yes, we are sure because yes, that is the problem: the lack of transparency. If I would have known I was buying that, I would have been less likely to be backer number one. I would have been less excited about that book.
Well, because I backed a product once upon a time, and I was one of the first backers. And the reason I backed it was because you got the physical book and all of the associated PDF versions of subsequent releases related to this book for its release process, which was going to be 3 books wide, right? Uh-huh. That's what I paid for. And once they had gotten closer to Target, they changed the reward tiers. So all I got was my physical book and my PDF of core rules, and none of the accessories, because they wanted to get more money. And I used my backers' rights. I went to the thing, I said, excuse me, you changed the thing that I paid for. How is that cool? And they basically said, this is a standard practice. A lot of people do this. It's not a problem. And I was like, no, this is a problem. That's called bait and switch. You lied. And that's the thing, is like, I understand.
It's actually illegal, and
right.
You could take that to your credit card company, and they could force a refund.
And the thing is that not having seen the book, not having backed it, didn't even know it existed until you guys were talking about it in the aftermath, right? I understand your displeasure. I get it.
Look in the
I'm gonna have to clear a space on my shelf.
Chats.
Sure, but
I'm
at
talking
the same time,
too, specifically.
Yeah. But at the same time, my brain goes, no. The real problem here is that if he had said during the thing, okay, guys, we did some research, we did some checking, we found it'll be cheaper, and it will come to you faster and more qualitatively to put it in this size. So why don't you take it in this size? If you don't want it in this size, other arrangements are available. Then you would have been fine, and it would have been a question of internal content. But they apparently didn't do that, which is, quite frankly, lazy as shit.
Yeah, I see it. No.
Well, the reason I specifically... Well, the reason I specifically had to mention this is because Okay.
For the people at home, is this the book we got in?
No, it's not.
Okay. This is what we were promised on the campaign, right?
Yes.
This is the book that was promised from day one. It wasn't until the book was already printed, past refundability, and a year delayed that we found out it was going to be European size. From a creator in what, Florida?
Yeah, no, that's bullshit.
What reason does a creator in Florida have to do a book not in what looks like an extra rigid trade paperback format, to do it in a floppy, cheap European tri-sized issue? Let me guess. Maybe that size and paper stock and cover stock was on sale, and he was running a little low on backer money after being a year delayed and dipping into it. Do you think that might be the case?
That might be the case.
It could be.
See, the reason
I'm no rocket surgeon, but it plays out.
Well, see, the reason I had to mention specifically that the inappropriateness here is concealing the change is because when we were working on the Executioner over at Unity Press, before things went kind of sideways.
Topsy-turvy, yes.
Yeah, we had preliminary art that was going to be our forward art. And, we went on multiple shows, talked to multiple people, we got multiple opinions. People gave us feedback. We said, you know what? You're right. This product is not qualitative enough for backers. So this is now proof of concept art. And we were upfront of it. We said, this is proof of concept art. Give us monies. We will take this. We will make it better for you. And people were on board. We were down. It just didn't fund because shit happens, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Right? If it is as simple as exerting that minimal amount of effort to say you give a shit to make people not be mad. Anyway, I will be right back.
Okay.
No,
But so my biggest letdown though, Church was really the writing.
Well,
What,
yeah.
you were
Go ahead.
expecting
Go ahead
something
and
good
speak.
from Biker Marks from Mars ripoff?
Go ahead and speak on that, Ayrton.
So, not necessarily good, quote unquote, per se, but competent, if that makes sense. Because you know, Larry, I have notoriously bad taste. Like I love bad comic books.
So lay it out for me. What happened?
So it's just
Well, I've got more to speak on the size thing, but I'll let Ayrton get his piece.
Okay. Well, so the story beats were clunky. A lot of them were predictable, and the dialogue I think was what put it over the edge for me. Picture the room with like 17 more IQ points in dialogue writing, and that's kind of what a lot of it was like.
I see.
Well, and let me put this out there. You know, Larry, being a writer, you know how comic art is produced.
Mm-hmm.
You know that it is produced at damn near double the size that is meant to be printed at, typically.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but it's created proportionately to the size that it's meant to be created at.
Right.
So when you create a piece of artwork for a modern sized comic book, that's what, a little under 7 inches wide by a little under 10 inches tall, something like that.
That sounds about right.
Okay, well, when you increase that to a magazine size and add 2 inches to both parameters, so you've got about a 9 by 13 area to fill now. Sometimes slacking off on background shows up a lot more.
And things also get a little stretched out and distorted.
Well, it was proportionately printed. The art's gorgeous. It's not like it doesn't look like it was created at size for a standard book and then scaled up. And it doesn't look stretched or distorted. The art looks beautiful. I will give that to the artist. The art looks really good. It just looks like it was created for a smaller book.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure his artist is was from Brazil or something like that, like somewhere in South America. So it would make sense that he would draw to that scale.
No. The scale he drew to was the scale that we were promised. I can guarantee that just based on the margins in the book.
Oh, okay.
He created the book to be printed at a standard trade size. The decision to print it at a larger size was done executively by the writer who was controlling the campaign and the funds. I can guarantee that as well. Like, I don't care if Gilly himself wants to come on here and argue with me about that. I will go to my grave believing this was meant to be printed on a standard trade size. And it was a last minute decision to print it on Eurostock because of an abundance of that size paper and cover stock.
I mean, I can't really argue with you. You have actual printing experience.
Yeah.
Well, look at the margins of the book. They don't look right. They're not equal from top to bottom and left to right like a standard comic book.
Yeah, that's fair.
So like what's the basic synopsis of the plot of this book?
I can't tell you. I couldn't bring myself to finish it. I was so pissed off by what I was so pissed off by what I opened and what I learned on the come up of the printing of this book and the delivery of it. And by the time I got it, I just put it on top of the pile and just washed my hands of it. I tried to read the first issue, which I had already read on digital, and it was competent. It wasn't great. I was hoping that the first issue that was released on digital was something that was maybe going to get edited, but unfortunately, what we got was released to Scout Comics, and they were stuck into that mindset. But Gilly's going to find out really soon that releasing this in individual issues kind of dumb, because now he's going to have to release issues 2 through 4, and they're not going to sell because issues 2 through 4 typically don't sell if the book isn't good.
So I actually did finish it. It actually took me about 2 days.
Yeah, for what, 80 pages?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
So
an hour's worth of reading took him 2 days.
Okay, so these capybaras.
Hold on, let me try without having read it. Let me see how close I am.
I
just by reading issue 1. Let me
I
see.
Bet you can do it.
Let me see how close I am. So you've got some capybaras, which are a rodent genus, who were abducted / rescued at adolescent by a lizard, and engage on a mission which ultimately leads them to vengeance and wisdom and adulthood by the end of their story, a la Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Star Wars.
I was going to say.
How close am I, Ayrton?
Yeah, you're pretty damn close. You're missing a part, though, because the lizard gecko guy raises them as his own kids.
No, I said that they were abducted and rescued by him, which, I mean,
no,
I didn't state that he Obi-Wan them for the rest of his life, but
well, hold on.
No, splintered them. We can't mix our metaphors.
No, it's in space, Rune.
Oh, right.
That makes it different.
The gray capybara is the oldest / leader of the trio.
So Leonardo,
the Leo,
yes. So him and the gecko dude have like a big falling out, and then the gecko dude gets abducted by a bad
So he's
guy
more like Raph in the story.
Yeah. So then he ends up having to save him and reconcile him, while the gecko dude sacrifices himself.
Exactly like the first Ninja Turtles movie following Raph.
And then he ends up being like defeating the villain.
Just like Raph.
Who was the one that killed their mother.
Just like Raph, the one that tried to kill their father, Splinter. And the one that killed their original master when they were turtles.
So that's the only thing you got wrong. Was the little
I got wrong the fact that it's a complete ripoff of the first Ninja Turtles movie?
It's not a ripoff, it's a homage.
No, it's a homage if you acknowledge it. They don't acknowledge it. And this homage. Dang. You gotta get your French in on it.
No. I was making a reference to a movie with Clint Eastwood called The Deadpool, in which Liam Neeson uses
which homage. The character Deadpool is homaged from.
And also,
omelette du homage.
Du fromage.
Omelette du homage. Great mind think alike, RuneKnight.
It's because we all grew up watching Dexter's Lab.
And so do dumbasses.
It's true.
Which
ones are we? Who knows?
Do I need to start the discussion so you and Larry can start yelling at each other about inaccessible?
No.
Because I have one more closing thing to say on this.
Sure.
This was a big letdown, but they just got the printed proof for Beard Zerker, and that should be a very good sight for sore eyes.
I hope so. Don hasn't let me down yet. But we know what we're getting with Don, which is a mockery of comic books.
Right.
And at least it's better when someone's like open about doing it. when they do it the way that Grom did it and just made a mockery of comic books without telling us that's what they were doing, it makes me mad.
Right.
But what this leads into, before we get into the subject du jour that you really want to talk about, it does lead us into the Chuck Dixon thing. Okay?
Explain the Chuck Dixon thing for us, Ram.
Well, I'm not going to read everyone the article itself, because
No,
you want to read it, go to Bounding Into Comics.
Yeah, just give us the Cliff Notes version.
The Cliff Notes are literally the title. It was so good, they had to use the title. Quote, Chuck Dixon. DC and Marvel seem to be in some sort of suicide pact with themselves to destroy American comics.
I mean, they are.
They are. And it goes on to not just discuss DC and Marvel, but he, of course, gets asked about the big CG. What is CG? And he's like, I don't even know what CG is.
Nobody does anymore.
Because it was originally created as a pejorative. He's like, we need to call this an indie revolution.
It's not.
Right?
Peter Simmetti's an indie revolution. CG is not.
Oh, sure. No, but I'm just saying this is what he is describing it as. Because the thing is that I think that the subject of adolescent rodents and the quality of that product and
galactic
the
rodents.
kinky galactic
adolescent
rodents,
black belt hamsters.
And the hinky development behavior is incredibly important relative to what is the future of comics. Because really, we are not going to have good comics in the future if this is the behavior of the people who will be ideally placed to pick up the torch dropped by the big two as they crash and burn and become corporate properties that will be hashed to pieces and have all of their character drained out of them.
I actually reached out to Marvel and DC representatives for a comment on this article, and I did I did get a response. You wanna?
Was it thank you for your interest?
No. You wanna hear me play that back for you?
I would love that.
I literally gave them the exact.
Since you're an alt-right influencer, I need to hear this.
Yeah, because of my alt-right influencer status, they were happy to give me a quote, and I basically said the exact same thing you just did to them, and this is what they had to say.
Yeah, well, that's just like your opinion, man.
And then they wrote Captain America Infinite Comics number 1 through 4.
Mm-hmm.
So
I mean, Church, you have an editorial behind this. You want to go for?
Well, I want to yell for about 3 minutes, maybe 3.5. I mean, I'm an old man. I can't last that long anymore. But I can make it count.
About Captain America?
No, about the state of comic books.
Okay.
And I want to go back to.
I have some comments on this as well, but please proceed.
So I posted something in show chat that you should share with the audience.
Age before beauty, sir.
That means you go first.
Because that really sums up right there.
No. Rune said age before beauty, and I told him that he should go first.
Yeah, but Larry's got the right of it. The GIF he has posted should be the thing that goes on the stream.
All right, let me. All right, so let me. I think I can do this. Try that. What?
Well, why you do that?
Yeah.
Speaking of being old and yelling about things, I tell you guys, I found my first gray hairs.
What?
Yeah, literally.
I was 16 when I had my first gray hair. You piece of shit.
No. I think the real question is.
It is a patch right in the center of my mustache.
No, fuck you. That's a nice place to have it. The Hitler pot.
No, see,
yeah. If I shaved everything, I would look like Hitler if he didn't shoot himself down in the cavern.
now you've ruined the joke because I was going to ask what was she doing when she found the gray hairs on you, but that's ruined now. But anyway, no, Church, please. Joking aside, proceed with your thing. I just have another interpretation I want to share afterward.
Okay. Apparently the GIF that Larry wanted people to see is this, and it says, hold on, me.
I have a lot of problems with you people, and now you're going to hear about it.
Yeah. So the main discussion that I wanted to have and that I wanted to put out there into the ether and let people respond to and tell me how I'm wrong about goes all the way back to 1938, June 30th. Action Comics #1. You know how much Action Comics #1 cost, Joe?
I do not.
10 cents.
Like a nickel?
10 cents because it was the #1 issue.
Yeah, back then, 10 cents.
Okay. So we've got a book here, and with a good week of chores, you could get yourself a soda pop from the corner store and a comic book from the newsstand with your allowance, which is usually about 10 cents to a quarter. Okay. You might even be lucky enough to get yourself a soda and 2 comic books. And then you could either trade those comic books to your friend for their comic books or sell them back to the store for, 60% of what you paid for them. So if you paid 10 cents, you might get 6 cents back, which meant you could buy issue 2 of Action Comics and have a penny left in credit. No, I'm being serious. Okay?
No, I'm just laughing at where we're at now. Anyways.
You know how much your average allowance for a kid is these days? Between $5 and $10. Maybe 20 if you're rich.
Also, the kids don't even necessarily have allowances.
Well, let's just pretend they do. Let's just pretend that every house is an old-fashioned nuclear family house that still does allowance for chores.
Well, that's those out there. I want to point out, I came from one of those households. My parents were like, "We're not going to pay you for your indentured servitude as our child."
I'm being generous.
You want to get paid? Get a real job.
Well, that's the thing. Back in the 30s, you could have a paperboy job for a quarter a week or 50 cents a week.
I got $50 a month. That was my job.
Yeah, break that down into 4 weeks, and let's see. You got paid roughly $4.30 a week, $4.30.
Yeah, but I mean, I was also working 4 hours a night, twice a week, cleaning a bar.
But here's what I'm saying though. With that $4.30 a week.
Yeah.
When we were kids, Joe, that was what, 3 comic books, a soda, and a pack of bubble gum?
Where I live, because I live in Washington State, and it is one of the most inflated, highest standard of living, not highest quality of living states in the union.
But when we were kids, comics were $1.25 a piece.
No, that's the thing. When I was a kid and I was buying comics, the comics I bought off the rack, where they still had them on the rack, which was amazing, $2.50.
Oh, were they? Was that the cover price or the sale price?
No, hold up, because I did learn the shocking.
No, hold on. Let him answer my question real quick, because it's going to bother me. Was that the sale price or the cover price?
That was cover price.
Cover at $2.50 when you were a kid?
Yeah.
I had $1.25 comics when I was a kid, and that was cover price.
You lived below the Mason-Dixon, sir.
Yeah, but I thought comics nationwide all cost the same.
Some stores marked them up.
On the cover?
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Oh. I never knew that. That's something the comic historian is just learning. Go ahead.
Would you then compound
that happened after the 45-cent changeover then.
But then you also compound that with the local businesses putting their own additional gouge on it. Because I tell you all the time.
When you say cover price, do you mean sticker price or do you mean printed on the cover price?
No, I mean printed on the cover.
Okay.
The thing is that, like, why was I buying off the rack? I was buying off the rack because going to the local comic shop, it's a scam. Because they gouge you. They gouge you hard, and they get
They
away
used to
with it
give me a
because they're
deal
the
down
only.
here.
And they get away with it because they're the only game in town.
Well,
'Cause
I'm going to get to that.
Yeah.
But let me get past what I'm saying here.
Okay.
Because before the 45 cent changeover, when comics started costing like 50 to 75 cent, I never knew there was a gouge. So I don't know if there was one at this point. But comic books sold 500,000 units each. Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen sold 500,000 units on average. When's the last comic you heard of selling 500,000 units? Or printing 500,000 units?
I mean, Berserker sold a whole bunch, right?
Did it sell 500,000? It might have sold as well as Batman that month, which is 130,000.
Well, let me ask for a clarification.
Do that
here,
research.
Because let me ask a clarification here, not just because I'm not being a pedant. This matters. Are we talking about initial sales, or are we talking aggregate?
Aggregate isn't recorded.
Okay. Well, the reason I have to ask is because technically, right, if we're dealing in aggregate, that gets a much wider selection of potential books. I fucking hate Civil War. Okay. I hate Civil War 2 more, but I hate Civil War in general.
But Civil War sold a lot after it came out because of the publicity behind it. Yeah.
So the initial sales of Berserker #1 was like 142,000, about 150.
So 1.5 Batmans for the month.
Basically.
Yeah. What I'm saying is that initial sales for Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen, without counting in the number of copies sold back to the newsies and the number of copies cut up by covers for the retail establishment, we're talking 500,000 in readers' hands. And that's Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen. That's not Action Comics. That's not Detective Comics. That's not Batman. That's not Flash. That's not Mystery Comics. That's not Challengers of the Unknown. That's not Journey into Mystery. That's Superman's pal, Jimmy Olsen, where Jimmy Olsen gets into debacle.
Hijinks.
Yeah.
That's 500,000 units. Nowadays, you're judged on Batmans, which is 100,000 units. And the majority of those Batmans go in triplicate to old guys who think every Batman comic might eventually be worth something. Comics used to be allowance. What you'd go into a grocery store or a barber shop or a convenience store or a comic store or a newsstand with your allowance money and say, hey, I can afford that and it'll offer me enough entertainment to get to my next allowance spending. Based on the fact that I can read it and then I can trade it or I can sell it back to this vendor and get my money back towards the next comic. In 2021, and I've said this 100 times on the show, and I'll say it 100 more before we fucking go off the air. I have worked in comic shops. I have worked in card shops, and what happens is if there are comics on the rack and their price tag is $3 to $4.99, anyone under the age of 13 is going to walk in and say, hey, let me have a pack of the new Pokemon cards to try and pull some value out of it because it's a fucking lottery. Instead of going over to the shelf and saying, hey, the new Batman's out, or the new Spider-Man's out, or the new Booster Gold's out, or the new Batwoman's here, or Captain Marvel's here, and Carol Danvers is whipping the shit out of some white supremacists, and that's exactly what I want to be about. Because I'm 8 years old and I'm politically aware.
Church.
Yeah, go ahead.
Those aren't for kids.
Nothing about comics is for kids, and that's why comics are inaccessible. Because they're not manifesting a new audience with the product.
I mean, manga are written for kids, and they're selling 1.5 to 2 million units a pop.
Correct,
So
because real comic readers are buying manga instead of comic books now because of shit like Captain America Infinity Comics.
Well, no. See, you've touched on two separate problems. I was going to talk about the.
I've touched on about 8, but go ahead.
I was going to talk about I was going to have the inaccessibility of content, but you've touched on the inaccessibility of economics, and I can tell you why they do this.
Okay? No, it doesn't matter why they do it. The fact that they do it means that they are not rebuilding their readership. And the fact that they're not rebuilding their readership means that my fucking 9-year-old kid over in the next room over here is more likely to put $5 in an online account for some non-existent fucking Roblox bullshit instead of buying a Batman comic book and finding a love of a character in a fictional universe that dates back over 50 fucking years. And that's a fucking problem, Brune.
No, it is a problem, but the why of it does actually matter, because when we talk about, I don't understand why they're doing this shit, when we're just hanging out and the new...
No, I know exactly why they're doing it, because it's inconsequential to them. They're doing it because comic books are nothing more than fucking pitch meetings for movies or TV shows or leftist bullshit in the writer's room, and they have no editorial oversight in the. No, I'm talking about mainstream comic books right now. I'm talking about Marvel and DC.
It's dumber than that. It is dumber than that.
I'll listen to you, but I don't think it's dumber than that. I think it's exactly.
Here's the thing. Everybody talks about how comics have to compete with other things, such as manga, such as internet, such as video games.
There's no competition because manga because comics are inaccessible. There's no competition,
listen, man.
You said you were going to hear me out. Church, settle down. Put your finger over the X button to be prepared to hit X to doubt and let Rune finish.
Right. The thing is that they are, in fact, whether they're competing directly or not, they're all in the same hobbyist sphere. Okay? And being that I follow games and fucking other nerd shit as well, there's this very interesting bit of content that came out. It was given as snark, but it's true. Okay? You may have heard of this little company. It used to be called Citadel Miniatures. Now it's called Games Workshop. They own this little property called Warhammer 40K. Okay?
Small.
And they said, small thing, yeah. They said, how can we make more money? And somebody said, well, we'll make minis more efficient. So they swapped from the plastics and the metals they had been doing to resin, because it's way cheaper to make way more bulk. Right? Which sounds great. Everybody went, yay, cheaper minis! Not putting together that they were never going to see those cheaper minis, because some dudes sat down in a boardroom and they said, how can we capitalize on cheaper minis? And some fucking monster said, well, a Space Marine unit, our highest selling unit, is a 10-man unit. So what if we halved the number of Space Marines you get in a box? Then they have to buy 2 boxes. And they said, well, wait a minute. How are we gonna convince them to buy that? They'll be mad because we used to sell 10 and now we sell 5 and now we want them to buy 2 boxes. And that dumb fuck, as the joke puts forth, said, well, if they spend the same amount of money for 1 box of 5 that they're now spending for one box of 10, they will value each individual miniature more. And then they'll love it. And then they'll keep giving us money. That's actually the thought process here.
Or they'll spend the price of 4 boxes of minis on a 3D printer and some filament.
Right.
And but if you do that, then you're not able to participate in the officially sanctioned games.
Right, because those have been worth half a damn since the 90s.
Yeah, let me just look up when the last official Warhammer 40K game took place that had a prize out of more than $10,000.
Oh, it's not even about prizes. The last time they had a big one that actually mattered, they said, we're going to let the results of the convention's conflict decide the course of plot. And they had this real problem in that they wanted the Imperium to win, and boys who brought their 2 deck codexes out of date Chaos teams won, because they were better with their minis than people who had gone and impulse bought, $10,000 of Ultramarines. But still, the thought process is the same, right? Well, if we raise the individual price on the individual unit of a comic, not only will we make more money, but the person buying it will value that book more. No consideration is even remotely given to the content that actually goes in the book and whether or not they want to read it. Because they want you to fall into that sunk cost fallacy. It's like, well, I spent $5. It must be good.
So,
Well,
I want to say,
go ahead, Larry.
You're both right and you're both wrong. The reason comics are inaccessible is because comics aren't being made for the audience; they're being made for the creator.
Well,
and they're being made for the.
That's not. I mean, that goes to me being.
Hold
right,
up. Let me finish laying this out. It's being made for the creator because the comic book company doesn't want to pay for talent because they don't want to give talent
or editors
any power to control the. Well, editing is also a talent.
No, it's not.
So,
being able to press spell. Being able to press spell check isn't talent. If
Church, Larry, let me go. Church, spell check is 70% accurate. I have done editorial work. You have not lived in pain, and I'm sure you have, until you have spent 4 hours going over one sentence, knowing you're not going to get paid for it.
I was hoping for this reaction, but yes, I have, and I know exactly what you mean. But the bare minimum will be better than what we're getting now.
Also, the problem. That's not the
spell check would be better than what we're getting at the moment.
That's just it. The minimum we're getting from Marvel and DC right now is somebody just hitting spell check and walking away. Yeah. That's the problem.
But they don't even get the spell check. That's the point.
Of course.
Right. But also the editorial we're talking about is more than that. But we're going to go on. So they don't want to give any of the talent, the writers, the artists, the editors, money or actual power to push ideas, decide directions of things. Don't have any power because basically all comic books are is number one, selling merch, which is where the companies make their big money,
or pitching TV shows or movies.
Hold up! I was about to get there. Or selling basically a spec script because the cost for them of having a fully completed comic book is about the same for producing a spec script. And it's like we're going to take a development cost and then we're going to push it to an audience who will pay for it and then cover our own expenses of a development cost, which will also help us advertise products we sell. So it's inaccessible because it's completely disconnected from any external source. It's not part of any culture where it's being shared and there's an ecosystem where, like you say, the kid does his chores from his parents because he's wanting to go to the store, get a soda pop, get a pack of Magic the Gathering cards, and buy the latest Booster Gold comic book. Because for some reason, this kid in the hypothetical story is really into Booster Gold.
Well, Booster Gold's amazing. That's why he's into
it. Exactly. So that's the thing. That is a comic book that's accessible because it's part of a broader organic social system. Comic books right now, it's all about a bubble. It's all completely inaccessible. It's all navel gazing.
Yeah, it's all about a bubble, but the bubble is that I'm going to censor what I call racist overtone jokes.
I'm going to get to that.
I can't believe you said this with white text over the redaction. And,
I'm going to get to that.
That's my message because you don't know if it's just someone saying, well, if the election had been done legally, Trump might have won.
But
before we
segue into this realistic example of what we're talking about with comic books being inaccessible to people, because this is also inaccessible because it's on an app that's hard to read. It's inaccessible because
Go ahead.
It's also inaccessible because at no point in time did the writer take his own ideas seriously.
Well, no,
it's not just that.
I disagree. I say that hold on. I say that the whole problem is that the writer took himself absolutely too seriously.
No, he took himself seriously. He didn't take his ideas seriously.
It's, again, same situation. You're both right and you're both wrong, but we'll get to that in a minute.
Are you guys going to diatribe for the next, like, at least 7.5 minutes?
If you need to take a stay up, feel free. Okay, so here's the thing. The other facet of this conversation about inaccessibility that I wanted to comment on, and this is not an excuse, this is not absolve them, is that this is cyclical. We have seen this before. Alright? Because if you look at the movie industry, between 1920 through to about 1960, movies were accessible, focused, enjoyable. Now, there were trends, okay? You know, for instance, film noir, everybody who liked film noir thinks those movies must have been top tier. Those movies were B as shit in their own time, right? Mm-hmm. But basically focused. Around the 60s, when the studio system began to fall apart, you saw a uptick in films, especially science fiction and other dramatic films that were trying to be deep and meaningful, and plots were hard to figure out, and motivations were questionable, and they were largely forgettable. The very best of them are names we still know, like The Manchurian Candidate, right? But
I've never heard of that.
I'm gonna slap you. I'm just saying. Any of the best of those films are either still known or have been remade, or are the beloved cult movies of people who are aficionados, right? And then this new bunch of guys came around. Some of them with names you might have heard, like Steven Spielberg and De Palma and George Lucas.
And
who started?
Tommy Wiseau.
Who started? No. Tommy Wiseau wasn't even here yet. Tommy Wiseau wishes he was in this group. In which case, he would have been the forgotten Frankenstein. The thing is that they went on to make some amazing films that everybody does know, right? Basically, saved the movie industry by making things accessible in terms of content.
Yeah,
making things people
is a really good movie.
But also, these are people who took their art seriously, and they took themselves seriously, and they took the business seriously.
Right. What I was going to say about that other subject, if we're moving over to Captain America, if Church is listening in about Captain America, is I also believe.
Before we do that, I want to get your guys' thoughts, which you've probably given because we bring this up all the fucking time.
Okay.
What about the problem that if you want to jump into superhero comics, you have like Batman who is 90 fucking years old?
Well, that's not that much of a problem.
I mean, kinda.
No.
If you really want to dive into a character that's been around that long, and then as you start going back, the timeline doesn't make sense. The story jumps all around. There's a bunch of inconsistencies. Like
that's always been the way of pulp media. It's basically you choose stuff, and if you're going to be that guy who reads it all.
This is a similar problem because it's participle, but there have always been jumping off points. Okay, if you're a new reader to Batman, for instance, from 20 years ago, 30 years ago. Dark Knight Returns was your jumping off point. You read Dark Knight Returns, you read whatever follows it as mainstream, you enjoy that. You want to go back and read the old stuff, you're reading old stuff, you're not expected to think that it makes sense, it's old. Okay? New 52 was supposed to be a new jumping off point. The issue is, and this is where Larry is correct, hi Larry, they don't have faith in their content, and and they either try to double down in the wrong way, or they don't just let it ride.
No,
right?
But the other problem. What
I mean by don't let it ride is they rush to the next reboot before people have even acclimated to the current reboot. So there's actually nowhere to jump in because now everywhere is a jumping in point. continuity utterly collapses into the future, and you are correct, means nothing in the past.
Well, that's right, but there's also the fact that how far away at this point are all of these characters removed from their actual creators?
Well,
I mean,
well,
the Batman
okay.
of today,
issue with that.
the Batman of today is mostly Frank Miller's work.
Well, here's the thing. When we're talking creatively, there is a term that used to make the rounds. I have one for Batman the Animated Series. I actually went and downloaded it. It's amazing. It's called a setting Bible.
Yep.
And some people understand what this is. Clearly, some people have never read one. Right? But the idea is that you don't have to have the original creator because certain fundamental benchmarks for who and what a character are supposed to be written down in a living document that doesn't keep track of continuity, but it solidifies what is the core personality of this character beyond all things.
And
they clearly aren't using it.
And that's what the editor is supposed to be the managerial voice on. The editor is supposed to be saying, well, look, that's not Batman. That's something else.
But, living documents work so well. The Constitution's supposed to be a living document, but I can't go just buy a fully functional Abrams tank with an M16 attached to it.
Sure, but there's a bizarre difference here. If you try to throw out the Constitution, right, the entire government system collapses, right? On the other hand,
that's all we have to do to make that happen.
Oh, I mean, there are a lot of things to make that happen, but hey, I mean, there are a lot of things to make that happen, but that's a good start. Within the realm of the business model for comics, due to basically protections they put in a long fucking time ago that are being ignored, you can actually throw the setting Bible out and not destroy the baby. For instance, we used to have What If comics, which are not like the animated What If series. I haven't even seen it yet. Yeah, but is literally the idea of, here we have our core character, let's explore an alternate interpretation and see if people like that. And then if they did, you could make a second book out of it.
But
which is entirely what that was.
Let's also talk about the setting Bible in reference to the popular trend since the 70s, which is deconstruction. Well, if you have a setting Bible, you can then do deconstruction by saying, we're going to focus on Batman's aspect of him, which is he's the gentleman detective. So we're going to focus in on that. We're going to take out parts of the gentleman detective archetype, and then we're going to add in something else instead. Like, I don't know, Batman trained with ninjas. And then we're going to reset the new normal with what we've changed.
Wait, I'm sorry. Batman trained with ninjas? I had not heard.
I'm just curious. Is it racist for me to say I think ninjas are gay at this point?
No.
Is it racist? No. Is it inappropriate?
But
I don't know. I'm sick of fucking ninjas.
It'd be racist if you said that if you said you had a problem with ninjas because they're from Japan. That would make it racist.
Rude. That was a joke.
But anyway, so you can't do deconstruction of characters without something that's constructive about them, which is the setting Bible that nobody's using.
Yeah.
And also something interesting that I saw on the eponymous Richard C. Myers video where he talked about how we stop seeing thought balloons for characters, and then it becomes more difficult for us to understand and engage with them because we don't know their thoughts. We don't know their inner lives.
Well, see, that's a perfect example. In the hands of a capable author, the use of captions as thought bubbles, which was an improvement at its time, is wonderful. When used as a mouthpiece to espouse ideology, it is terrible.
So I just want to kind of put what you guys are saying about the setting Bible thing into a different context, just to make sure I understand it properly. So in a musical context, a setting Bible would be like your chord progression, melody, rhythm, that stuff, in writing a comic book character. Yes? So like if I was to do a cover of Stairway to Heaven and I played just a bunch of random shit,
Right.
That doesn't count as me playing a cover of Stairway to Heaven.
Let's
use and the melodies. And
let's use your
with my own twist on it. That's what makes it a cover.
Well, if we use
what a setting Bible is.
Right. If we're using your example and we use Stairway, right? If you take Stairway and it's the same song, but you make it up tempo, right?
Yeah.
So it's fast instead of this lengthy, somnolent ballad, right? But more of a lost my girlfriend, my life sucks, ha 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 kind of thing, right? Almost like a Depeche Mode, I want to be sedated style musical performance. Yes, it's a cover, but it is still within the broad spectrum of being a Zepp cover, right? And if you change genres, if you made it techno or Mathematica or ska, it's still a Zepp cover, because now you're doing the ska version of Stairway. But then if you do a death metal song that never even invokes Stairway to Heaven, has nothing to do with it, is just screaming for 12 minutes with not even words, and then you call it Stairway to Heaven, not only will anyone who reads or listens to Stairway know that that's not Stairway, but you did not follow the setting Bible.
I just want to go on record here and say that by the year 2021, I'm very disappointed that we don't have oldies music by now that is just one long cuss word. Like literally a 5-minute, 30-second track with a decent beat going.
Church. Yeah. Fred Durst and CeeLo Green are only two men. They can only do so much.
Look, I don't like to put chemicals in the water that make terrorism okay.
So, we need to watch a Japanese movie later, which is about a band that has one of those songs.
Is it the Japanese equivalent of This Is Spinal Tap?
Detroit Metal City, and it's about a young man.
Oh, yes, I love Detroit Metal City.
Yes, so it's also an anime, but there's a live action version that predated the anime, and it's about a young man who went to be in a Europop band, but who couldn't do that because Europop sucks. But he becomes the god of the Japanese death metal scene.
Yes,
it's my life story, actually.
But we're going to talk about why Marvel is ruining Captain America as part of Church's thesis on how comics are completely inaccessible.
Right, and that's the thing. Is that we were talking about, well, why do they do? How do they feel? They don't care. It's like, no, I'm actually going to put forth the argument that the writers in question, okay, it's not just that they don't care. They have no confidence. They have no courage in their material. And here's what I mean by that. The actual setup, if you dig into it, okay, of just the first scene of the Captain America comic we're going to talk about, called Captain America Infinite.
I'm so allergic to bullshit that I'm sneezing because I'm on this show.
Sweet. Is not bad. All right, I actually want to put this out there. Captain America at a bar, having a drink, hearing some guys being racist fucks, and deciding to do something about it by having a quiet word with them and making them leave is not wrong. That is something Captain America would do.
That's not what the comic book does.
Right. Not only is that not what the comic does,
it's a 3-panel exchange, though. It's not a 4-book endeavor.
Right. But in addition, right, the context of the scene is wrong. It's blocked poorly. Okay, and the actual incipient event, they undermine their own effort by using the black text or white words, just like in Angela, Queen of Hell, and saying, vague racist commentary or vague right-wing extremist views or whatever the fuck they say.
Can I sue for life rights?
Sure. Whatever they put it as, because I don't recall offhand, right? This isn't just a bland stand-in for something awful. This is literally a statement of, I don't feel courageous enough to step into the office of my boss.
No.
right?
Oh, no. The guy who wrote that is proud of that.
Because he can be proud of it. He can lie, but I'm saying at the actual sitting in front of the thing, he did not have the balls to have the guy say a slur.
Well, no. Here's the thing. To him, doing that would be hurtful to people. So this is the much more enlightened way to write it.
Right. Oh, he can believe that. He's fucking wrong. See, the thing is that either you say the slur, right, and the slur is awful, or you infer the slur, but you infer it in such a way that everyone can fill in the blank. And I think that's what they think they're doing. It's like, well, I didn't say which slur it is, so it could be any slur, right? Except
or it could be no slur.
Right, exactly. And that's the thing.
And then you have Captain America beating up somebody because they said something he disagreed with. Because that's what Captain America would do.
And that's the problem. The problem is because they didn't have the strength of will to actually say something awful that could theoretically hurt someone. They make Captain America look like shit. And
would a no slur be like when I call Canadians snow monkeys because it sounds kind of racist?
No.
It's about white people, so no one.
Let me give you an example of this. My friends Sethan and I made a webcomic called The Mars Project. I'd love to show it to you, but I don't have access to it anymore. I'm trying to get it from him so I can pass it around. In it, it's a cyberpunk. We have androids, right? And one android sees a couple of other androids getting hassled by some activists, so she walks over, makes them get the fuck out of here, and rescues them, and they're also really grateful, right? So, and they're like, "Can we buy you lunch?" And she's like, "Cool." So they sit and they're having a sandwich, and everything is great, and they look over and they see a fucking poor homeless human, right? Like a human hobo with a sign that says, "We'll work for food." Right? And these two synths that the main character just rescued are like, "Oh, isn't that disgusting? Couldn't they just be less poor?" Right? And she's mortified because she just helped save these people from getting hassled by bigots. And they're bigots too. So she gets up, walks away. She just leaves the scene because she cannot contextualize a way to correct these people that wouldn't be a problem.
Yes.
Right?
Now,
and that is
the author of the.
Could they just be less poor? Do they make a fair point?
They might have, and that's the kind of thing that really people should discuss. But the scene itself doesn't give a specific onus as to a belief. It only says as to the character's belief, which is that she finds these people awful to the extent she doesn't want to associate with them.
Right, but Captain America Infinite said that, just walking away is the same as agreeing with them.
Right.
Correct.
But that's the thing. We don't know what he said, so we don't know.
That's how you become an alt-right influencer like me.
Yes, but that's wrong. That whole opinion's wrong. All of it's wrong.
But here's the other thing. When I say it's not blocked out properly, okay? Captain America on a date, whatever, with current girl stand-in for old romantic flame number 26, right?
Or Captain America at a bar after doing a mission.
Well, no. I'm saying that the context they give us is wrong for this extension, for this series of actions, because Cap would put together, "I'm on a date with a nice friend, I can't cause a problem." On the other hand, if you put it that Cap went on a mission, or has been having a rough week, and he doesn't want to be Cap right now, right? But, you're fucking Steve Rogers, everybody knows your face, right? So he goes out of his way to a dive, to a hellhole, to a pit, right? To some dark fucking basement where no one knows his name, just so he can have a quiet drink, right? And runs into the scum of the earth that you would expect to be in a shithole, right? The thing that could really save that scene, okay? You do the whole thing. Use the shitty block text, have the hallucination where Cap imagines that they think that he's one of them, have him threaten to break the guy's arm with an armbar if he doesn't get the fuck out of here, have the whole thing. But when you're done with it, have Cap's internal monologue state how awful he feels that he allowed them to diminish him by acting out in that way. Right? That he had to be like one of them to stop them from doing something he finds objectionable.
Hold up, Rune.
Yeah, but let me tell you.
But the author in question doesn't believe that would be diminishing.
No, that's the thing. The author in question not only doesn't have the courage of his convictions to say them, but also wants to create a condition where whatever Captain America does, Captain America, and by extension the reader, can walk away and feel justified and feel good about it. Those Nazis deserved that stern talking to, which is stupid.
Hmm. But the reason I brought Captain America Infinite to everybody's attention, which is great because it comes off of the conversation about the setting Bible.
I mean, I actually went and read it. I read the whole couple of books, so I'm caught up on it.
So how terrible is Marvel Infinite as a platform for reading comics? Because it looks just awful.
If I had never read a comic before, okay, I'm a brand new baby. I like Captain America in movies. I want to read Captain America. Is it bad? No.
No, I'm talking about the interface, not the comic. I'm talking about like the app itself.
Oh, the app. I haven't done the app. I don't know the app.
Oh, okay. You didn't read it through the app. Okay.
No.
I've heard the UI is terrible on the app.
I have heard that the app is not as good as other sources for comics. Even though Marvel claims 3 million hours in Paint.
Yeah. So let's talk about this from the perspective of the setting Bible, which we discussed about, and also what Ayrton brought up about. Well, how could you take Batman seriously because it's a 90-year-old document? Because this is a perfect example. This is a story that was written by someone who doesn't understand where Captain America the character has been, who Captain America the character is, and how that should be reflected in the current setting. Why is it that Marvel can't? And it's not even a recent problem. It's been pretty much consistent until the 1990s that Cap was just patriotism-themed superhero. And in the 90s, he was a patriotic war hero type figure. And since 9/11, he's just been garbage.
Well, I mean, literally part of that is 9/11 has made everything into Jingo.
Except nobody's doing Jingo for 9/11.
No, they aren't, but
they're doing reverse Jingo.
It is still an undercurrent that even if you say you hate the government, you also can't be seen to do anything against the government. Especially because Disney wants good relationships with the military-industrial complex so they can rent Humvees. Because you don't get the army in your Iron Man movie unless the army likes you.
What? But at this point, can't Disney just make and build their own army with like hookers and blackjack?
They already have.
Disney is as bankrupt as the American government.
Which means they have millions and millions of dollars, but they're broke.
Yeah.
So let's kind of dive into this a little bit more, Rune. So like, how would you imagine if you were in charge of writing a setting Bible for Captain America for Marvel, which would pay decently in this ideal fantasy world? How would that setting Bible be written out?
I mean, first and foremost, I would...
There'd be the first page that says, like, this is Captain America. If you don't read anything else in here, read this page. What's that first page say?
That first page actually doesn't refer to any books, any events, or any specific Captain America content, like his description. It is a rundown of the fundamental core beliefs, the ideologies of Captain America. And it's not just the ye old, apple pie. It is solidly common origins, universally good, like noble bearing, law abiding, or spirit of the law versus or intent of the law versus letter of the law. Get to the core of who is Cap. I want you to walk away off the first page with who Cap is, before I get into what Cap is. Because the what is less important than the who.
Now, would you say any Captain America comic book that's been written in the last 10 years has been that?
No. Especially, I would say no Cap book since Cap's giant photoshopped boob chest has been a good Cap book, and I don't read regular Cap.
Rob Liefeld.
Yeah, The Return of Liefeld was the death of Cap.
And in fairness, the boob chest wasn't even a thing Rob did, it was a promotional ad.
Yeah.
We still like to make fun of Rob, so.
Wasn't he credited for it?
No. That was somebody else's drawing, too.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh. Why is the YouTube bot in here?
I don't understand why that's affiliated with Rob Liefeld at this point, though.
Because people have spent...
It was his Captain America run for Heroes Reborn.
And because people have spent decades making fun of Captain America's... or Rob Liefeld's lack of feet.
But what name was credited on that cover? That's the question.
That wasn't a cover, though. That was a poster.
What name was credited on that poster? Because they always credit.
I'd have to look at it.
Legally. There's a reason that Rob Liefeld has caught flack and defended that image for so long.
But, no, here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. We're going to come at this from a weird angle. I know that we want to say 9/11 for obvious reasons. Okay? But I actually think you
January 6th, Rune! January 6th was the greatest problem.
I think you could even make the argument that Marvel, as it had been, died literally in a comic where Yuito the Watcher said the Marvel Universe was dead. And that's Onslaught, the original Heroes Reborn event.
Yep. That kind of popped the bubble, and Marvel's been a whole bunch of gimmicks ever since.
Well, if that's the argument we're going with, then yet again we're actually put the blame firmly at the feet of DC, because Onslaught wouldn't have happened if Death and Return of Superman hadn't happened.
And that wasn't even the first time they killed Superman.
I know, but that's the one that made the most money and got the most attention. Superman fist fighting a space baby.
And all of that is further inaccessibility of comics. But I think it goes deeper than just 9/11. I think it goes with the fact that
look,
a lot of people...
jet fuel can't melt steel comics.
Look, I don't appreciate you guys just completely undermining the idea that Doomsday was my spirit animal.
Oh no, Doomsday can totally be your spirit animal. I'm totally on board, Church, with your spirit animal being a rage-filled baby from outer space.
That's exactly what my spirit animal is. I'm a Magic the Gathering and comics nerd. What the fuck else do you think it would be?
Exactly.
But I think the problem is a lot of the artists that work for Marvel and DC are not well educated, not very worldly, not very full of life experience.
Wait, that's what happens when you hire people off of Tumblr?
Oh man, I watched a video this evening, much to my horror, about the actual numerical amounts, the percentages of the population that are deemed illiterate, which included the subdivisions of literacy, where you're illiterate but functionally able to operate. And it's way higher. I never realized that my actual ability to read might be why I have problems with people.
But these are people who don't have a good grasp on civics, on what the kind of civics that would have happened in the 1930s would be like. I recently, for a role-playing game, made a character who lived through the Great Depression, and I talked to a person who's more in depth about the history of those things, and one of the big things that was like, yeah, this whole thing with COVID we're going through right now. Yeah, people died from pandemics and diseases much more commonly back then, and people were like, you die. That's a thing that happens. And
Okay.
the people who are writing these stories are focused on the current year, and that's why with Dungeons and Dragons, it's fantasy Portland. It's not, Faerun realistically anymore.
Yeah. My thing is, if we're going to talk about the lack of knowledge of civics, I understand that comics cannot be a faithful replication of reality's political system. Like,
Well,
there's a
that's
reason
not
that
what
it's
I mean by civics. That's not what I meant by civics. I'm saying, like, they're writing from a perspective of the world that doesn't understand how the world works.
No, I know, but the reason I bring this up is that, again, the seeds for the current problems being laid in the past. Again, I fucking hate Civil War. Okay, because it.
What, you don't want a comic book that was written from the whole point of proving that George Bush was right, just he was wrong about how he went about it?
Not just that. Not just that, but the fundamentals of misunderstanding how the government works and the subtle intimation that has become enshrined enough that people are starting to talk about it, that we live in some kind of monarchy. And there are people that want to go back, but they think that the democratic experiment was a bad idea. And it's like, do you dumb fucks not know what authority without representation looks like? Because let me tell you, we had that problem before. For almost 1,000 years. It was bad. Actual fascism is way scarier than you know. I'd rather not be a peasant. I'd rather be a failed artist.
But that's sort of the thing, is that they can't write Captain America as a realistic character because none of them think, well, what sort of world did Steve Rogers come from? What was that actually like? I mean, I know my grandpa went through that stuff, but he's dead, and I didn't talk to him when he was alive, so I don't know. I can read it in books, but I don't read books.
Well, that and an ongoing problem. One of the talking points that's come up that I've heard people say, they like to use it as a take that for objectivism, but the fact of the matter is that people are cynical enough that they honestly believe that a Captain America couldn't exist. No one is good. No one is honest. No one is forthright. No one would actually do anything Captain America does out of the kindness of his heart. He has to be some kind of shallow, super patriot cunt-suckle that only does it for his personal aggrandizement. And the secret is, that they don't want you to know, is that the reason they believe that is because they wouldn't do it. They would only do it for their own aggrandizement. If they had the opportunity to be Captain America, they'd be Hydra Cap, not actual Cap.
More importantly, they don't know anybody in their own lives who is that genuine and good of a person.
This is why some of my characters are defined by being very, very angry. It's not because Joe is an angry, hate-filled person, but rather because I am aware.
No, it's because you hate fun.
That too. But it's also because I recognize that your rank-and-file individual has frustration. Frustration is a very real thing that transcends a lot of political ideologies, right? These are people who somehow believe that if you do things right, everything you feel feels justified, and you never feel negative. You never have to feel bad about anything, right? Therefore, you should never
have to feel bad about anything.
Because sometimes bad things happen, Church.
But it's not your fault. It's everyone else's.
Right, but that's just it. It's like, well, what if it is my fault? Or rather, what if I could have done more and I didn't?
It's never your fault, though.
They believe it's never their fault, certainly. They want to put it off on people because of their ethnicity, which is a wonderfully recidivist ideology.
Well, yeah, I mean, black people are too stupid to make their own decision about getting a vaccine.
No, No, seriously. I saw a post recently on the Twitter, because why not do a horrible thing and visit Twitter? People saying that they hated white people and they little dogs, and that if their little dogs jumped at them, they go and kick them. And I'm like, my mom is a lovely 69-year-old double amputee with a service animal who doesn't have a racist bone in her body. You're gonna physically assault my mom? Wow. Because anyone that would physically assault my mom is not someone that should be credenced. Their opinions be wrong. We love the Rooney mom.
Rune mom is the best mom.
Yeah.
It really is.
And also related to this is the new director for the new James Bond movie said
Ayrton,
that
Ayrton's
James
part of
Bond
this
was
podcast. Hey, Ayrton.
I was letting Rune go off.
Well, I assume you were hitting that bowl.
Ayrton doesn't smoke, you fuck. I'm the smoker.
Yeah. Well,
we're both alcoholics, but I'm the pothead.
Yeah. I'm just the nicotine fiend.
You're all Church McCartney.
No,
I don't like that.
He's Green Ranger McCartney.
Never fucking say that ever again.
He's Green Ranger McCartney. He controls the Dragon Sword that gives me my hat.
Oh, wow.
Yes, I'm so badass as a Megazord that I use the Dragon Sword as my hat.
I can believe it.
So, I think I was trying to segue us into the next thing on the list, but what's the next thing on the list to segue us into?
I mean, you were segueing us there. What is it?
Okay, so the director of James Bond is part of this general theme, the new James Bond movie.
Which James Bond, the real one or the African American lady one?
She's not technically James Bond. That's a trick that they're playing to try to deceive you for marketing purposes.
That's backwards marketing and it sucks. But continue.
No. Rage posting on the internet gets two kinds of audiences: people who want to support the idea that's not actually happening, and people who want to be there to be angry at what they see in the movie.
Yeah, right, but the thing is, the people that want to be angry about it aren't going to actually go to the movie.
No, they will. That's the problem.
I don't.
No, Church. See, here's the thing.
Hold on.
Okay.
Does that mean that I'm a rational human being?
Yes.
Yes.
So this is actually something I have a weird amount of knowledge on. So diehard James Bond fans are not going to go see it, no matter how pissed off they are. If you've read if you've read at least one James Bond book, yes, folks, there are books. That's what they were before movies.
Yeah,
you're
not
going to see this.
Actually,
they open left to right.
The canon books start after the second James Bond movie. If you want to be,
no, they don't.
The canon books, yes, they do.
No, they don't.
No,
yes, they do.
They most certainly do not.
Don't.
We'll get into this, but continue.
Because the first book is Casino Royale, which was the first movie made even before the movies went on the big screen. Casino Royale was done as a TV movie.
And then it was redone as a mainstream movie, 5 movies in?
Yeah.
Okay.
But Casino Royale was always the first movie.
But it was the 5th movie too, so...
And when they rebooted James Bond for Daniel Craig, it was the first movie again.
But James Bond never quite reboots, so it was never the first movie.
No. Implicitly, the Daniel Craig movies are all reboots.
Okay, well that's the problem, because that's not the way it works.
But
I never watched the Daniel Craig movies or the Pierce Brosnan movies either. So I can't really speak to those.
The first James Bond movie was 1962.
Right, but they don't like to count the Casino Royale TV movie typically.
So here's the thing.
Thank you.
Okay, you guys can debate which Bond is real Bond forever. We all know it's Sean Connery.
I'm just saying the canon Bond starts with the movies.
The thing is that no, absolutely, Ayrton, you're right. Diehards are not gonna go watch it, but there is a large swath of the population that has this problem. They say they hate it because they hate it, and they should, and they don't want it. They don't want it, but they also are still enough bandwagoners that they don't want to be left out. They don't want to miss that opportunity to have that first week knowledge and say, "Oh, I saw it. Let me tell you all about it." So they will literally go to the movie theater, pay their hard-earned cash money, sit in the movie they hate with their arms crossed, say they hate it, right? Then,
I don't know.
No, I'm telling you, this is 100% true. Then they will come home and they'll either get on YouTube, or they'll wait till their work the next day, and they'll go to the water cooler, and they'll be like, "Oh, guys, I saw the new James Bond. It was so awful. Let me tell you all about it." They actually do this. And the worst part is that they don't put together that anytime you give the business your money for goods and services, you aren't telling them stop making it. You're saying, please do more of this. I want it. They're actually that dumb.
Hatred is not the opposite of love. Apathy is.
No, Rune, I think you're wrong just with this property, because this property is unique as far as fictional universes go. I think the only people that are going to go see it in the context you're talking about are like the big like anger reviewers, like
that's what
the critical drinkers. Those are the kind of people that are going to go see it.
Yeah, but that's what I'm talking about.
See it unless they think it's cool, and there's 37 of those people. That's
the thing.
Hold on, real quick, both of you.
Okay.
You have to understand, Ayrton, that we live in an era where pirating something equals views. HBO lauded the fact that Game of Thrones was the most pirated show on the internet,
despite trying to take away my internet for it.
Okay. We live in an era where people that go out of their way to not pay for things count towards a view count.
But Rune's point is they were getting money for it, though.
They get money for the fact that their shit gets pirated because they sue internet companies even if they can't disconnect your cable for
it. And we're also talking about theater sales, which is tracked for the box office. It is going to make its box office investment. Yeah.
Because with COVID, they're going to get special tax incentives.
Quite literally, one of the things that's right, guys, I'm admitting it in public. You can't do shit. Or if they do, come get me. One of the things that I do to avoid having to give Disney money is I have a friend who has a Disney Plus account. He and I sit down, we pull up the Discord, we sit in the thing, we watch MCU stuff. We haven't in a while because he's been busy in real life, but the fact of the matter is that I've been able to keep up with on the current trend of certain things, literally by giving them half as much money as they would get from me. By not giving them money and letting someone else foot the bill.
What Rune means is the guy that he watches things on Discord with pulls up his Fire Stick and a fake Disney Plus account because Disney Plus isn't actually able to be translated by Hulu because we want to keep pirating your shit. Thanks. Okay, bye.
Exactly.
Also, beyond the eyeballs, they also make money off of when there are eyeballs there.
Right.
So they make money off of day one views. They make money off of week one views. They make money off of 30-day views if it's a streaming product.
What I think is a more interesting facet to this conversation is actually how they're playing both sides of the field. Because what has not been mentioned was that Daniel Craig actually came forward and made a comment about this subject. And said that instead of having a female James Bond, they should have more roles for female characters. Right?
Right. But the problem is there's no money to make roles for female characters.
Right, but the thing is that superficially sounds like Daniel Craig is one of us. He's not. What he is, he's saying what the corporation told him to so that they can hedge their bet, break even. Because what they want is they want people who are mad at them to decide they're not mad enough that they won't watch the movie because Daniel Craig supported them and they want to support the actor. Like, the actor hasn't already been paid, like, the actor isn't already living in the Caymans, like, the actor already isn't enjoying the benefits of all your money.
The actor that had to spend, like, 3 months learning how to drive a manual car for the his first appearance. Anyways.
Also, I'm amazed no one tried to stab me. I guess I chose the correct Bond.
I mean, there is a strong argument for all the Bonds, even the Roger Moore Bond.
The only Bond is Sean Connery. Fucking fight me.
Yeah, people can be wrong. Clearly, it's Sean Connery.
So Sean Connery has the one advantage over all the other Bonds. Ian Fleming was actually
he was an
there.
actual womanizer. Yes, I know.
Well, no. He was actually Ian Fleming was actually involved in the casting, and he saw Sean Connery, who wasn't even there to try out for that movie, and he said, yeah, "Him. That's the guy. He's got the walk. He's got the swagger. That's him."
He's gonna fuck all the bitches on this set, regardless of whether or not he's on the movie.
Wait, you mean Ian Fleming saw Mr. Universe and said, "I want the guy that's a thinly veiled stand-in for myself to be that guy."
Thinly veiled? No, Ian Fleming was a British spy during.
No, he was. He absolutely was. But
not thinly veiled.
No. Here's the thing. Ian Fleming was a spy, and he was in fact apparently a master of the honeypot. It was his preferred method. But he really wants people to believe that the description of events that he does in a James Bond work is a lot closer to his real work than it is. Right? He wants people to think that he's James Bond, and it's like, no, Ian, you're not James Bond.
No,
James Bond is a fiction you wish you were.
This is now a 6-minute finale on Defend Your Favorite James Bond. Sean Connery is the GOAT. Fuck you, go.
Hold on. I just want to say, no, Rune, that's not entirely true. You're attributing motive, because Ian Fleming had originally had James Bond not using the Walther PPK. He was using a Beretta. And a fan wrote to him and said, like, why would James Bond use this gun? That's a horrible choice. He should be using this. And he wrote back saying, like, yeah, I'm not that familiar with firearms. It's just what I was issued on, so that's what I went with. But yeah, I'll take your advice. So,
right, but that's a...
No, it's not what he wished he was. He was
also
writing. He was doing the old adage, write what you know.
Also, he said James Bond was based off of guys he ordered into the field. There was a couple of different guys he ordered into the field that he took liberties with in building James Bond.
The problem is that we're Americans, okay? And being Americans, we come from a culture that is, and this is not a statement on sin, this is a statement on belief, we're pro-pride, take pride in your accomplishments, shout it from the rooftops. Ian Fleming is English, and comes from a culture of quiet desperation and genteel deflection. Oh no, it's not about me, I swear. Honestly, the men I sent into the field, they're all good boys. Bullshit. It was an ascended author avatar of himself trying to say that he had done more awesome things than he had, when we have evidence from other people's commentaries that basically say, yeah, he was a spy, but Ian Fleming was kind of a fuck up, and we never really got why he thought he was so cool.
Because part of the Double Cross Committee with a little man you might have known of by the name of Alan Turing, and a Portuguese encyclopedia salesman who almost ruined the whole plan. And they ran the counterintelligence operation against the Germans, where they co-opted all the German intelligence in the United Kingdom, and they fed them disinformation, which is what allowed the invasion to be successful.
Larry, what they actually did is they asked Sean Connery, doesn't it make you proud to be Scottish? And Sean Connery said, it's shite being Scottish! We're the lowest of the low! The scum of the fucking earth! The most wretched, miserable, servile, pathetic trash that was ever shat on civilization! Some people hate the English! I don't! They're just wankers! We, on the other hand, are colonized by wankers! Can't even find a decent culture to get colonized by! We're ruled by the F-at assholes! It's shite state of affairs to be in! Tommy! And all the fresh air in the world won't make it any fucking difference!
Hey, Novel Bro, you want to get in here and give your 2 cents? if you're watching, please.
That's what Sean Connery said. Just from what I remember from the interview.
Church might be editorializing.
No, that was the quotation from the interview. Like it's up to debate as to whether or not that was.
It's a direct quote, recited, not read, as interpreted by Church, off of memory.
But also, it's difficult to say which actor is your favorite James Bond actor because Sean Connery was the James Bond actor of the 60s and 70s. Roger Moore was the 70s and 80s. Pierce Brosnan was the 90s.
Okay, what about Timothy Dalton?
Timothy Dalton was something that the studios didn't have any actual confidence in. He could have been the 80s and 90s.
I actually like A View to a Kill.
A View to a Kill is good.
So,
I'm not saying Dalton was bad. I'm saying the studio had no confidence in him, and he is, in some respects, the most authentic interpretation of the original character.
Look, I will give Roger Moore this much, and it is a fraction. He's in an excellent Bond movie. Live and Let Die is great.
I'm just trying to figure out if anybody can place a quote I just read.
That was from Trainspotting.
Correct.
So yeah, and that's the thing. Daniel Craig is the Bond of the 10s. So he's really representative of this era of film.
Which I didn't hate Casino Royale or Quantum of Solace. I thought those were pretty good movies.
We've got a minute to wrap up before we close the show out.
Well, wait a minute. Here's the thing. If that is so, Church or Ayrton, if that's how we're going, okay, then it explains everything about why I hate these movies. Okay, because I've seen Casino Royale and Quantum of Solace, and the one thing I found about Craig's Bond is he's a brute and a thug, and he lacks any kind of nuance, suaveness, or debonair presentation. It's like somebody decided we're gonna do the Bourne Identity in a Bond suit.
Well,
yep.
Or what was the one after Quantum of Solace where him
Spectre?
And, no, not
no.
Spectre.
Yeah, it was Spectre. You're right.
Was it Spectre?
Yeah. You're waiting to ask about the one where an evil corporation does something less evil than what Nestle did in Bolivia.
I didn't see Spectre. Which one is the one where him and M have to escape to like his old family home in Scotland?
That's Quantum of Solace.
That is Quantum of Solace?
I think.
Yeah.
I swear there was one after that and before Spectre.
The thing is, this Bond is not actually... Here's the thing. Craig wants to retire. Just let me finish, man. Craig wants to retire. This Bond has not done as many movies. That's why there's a confusion.
Well, yes. But whatever the one is I'm thinking of, which I'll look up later.
Continue.
That whole sequence where him and M take the DB5, which is the Bond car, back to Scotland, and he sets up all the traps and does all that stuff. That is a phenomenal 30-minute sequence at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
What do you mean he's just brute force? Like that entire sequence was
he means he's a brute as a character. Not that it's all brute force.
Well, before we log off, I just have to know which Bond movie was it where the